What is up, everybody? So it is a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday evening. So thank you guys, first of all, for joining me. Let me adjust that camera. But there we go. All right. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Like I was saying, if this is your first time watching the show, I do appreciate you following us along. Do us a favor. If you're checking us out on any of our social media platforms, you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube and LinkedIn. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all at Mfsb Live, Twitch as well. And then on YouTube, you can check us out on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/C/Made from Scratch broadcast, guys. Do us a favor if you're watching there. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the like button and hit the notification bell. It'll let you know whenever we do go live, schedule lives, or whenever we drop new video content on the channel. So thank you if you're watching us on YouTube. And of course, we are streaming live on LinkedIn. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, folks, thank you so much. Send me an invitation to connect. I do appreciate it. We already got people watching on Instagram right now. So Instagram, we do a little bit different here. So it is our behind the scenes sort of thing. So Carol Campos is actually watching on Instagram. So thank you, Carol, for watching. She did her live show, The Divine Breadcrumb Live, with her and Deb Sorson. Really good stuff. You need to check it out on Facebook, guys. Okay, so we already got, look at that, Nicole P. Jones already commenting. So let's get started with this evening's guest, okay? She is a highly accomplished, dynamic, and solution-oriented professional with experience in media buying and customer success in small and growth organizations. She possesses excellent skills of influence, problem-solving, strategic thinking, verbal and written communications as a decisive leader and a team player with over 10 years of proven ability to provide deliverables and meet deadlines. So, guys, she is awesome. I've connected with her. Actually, first time I ever saw her was, again, I got to credit Russ Johns. It was on the Russ Johns show. And I've been connecting with her ever since. And then I started connecting more with this evening's individual through the positivity chats that actually Steve Sullivan, who's been a guest host of the show here, and Miss Karen Markle, who's also a former guest as well. And I started seeing us all around these groups together, and I've seen her in a couple of sessions with Lila Smith as well. So you know what, we've connected. I said, you know what, it's time for us to come together and have this interview on the show. So guys, do me a big favor. Please help me welcome to the show Miss Karen Cooper.
Hello.
Hey, Karen, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
So,
hi, Nicole.
Nicole, right? So Nicole's another one who hangs out in these positivity chats. Really, really great people and interesting people that you meet there. Mm-hmm. And it's, for me, it's exciting to always be connected with new people. So I found it so interesting whenever I started getting in a lot of these different Zoom groups, and I didn't know a lot of the people, but then I would see people that I know, and you were one of them. I go, wow, okay. Karen's here, Karen's there.
Karen's everywhere.
She's everywhere.
Like on the Dr. Seuss book bucket.
Pretty much. And, these talks that they have are always very, they're always very refreshing, and they always do a lot of good, especially once you get in these groups and start talking with all these different interesting individuals. It's funny because they provide like such a really a really safe space to be open and vulnerable and talk about the things that you really want to talk about. That's what I love about these. And then, when we connect on these kind of chats, you learn more about each other. And that's why I said at this point, you know what, I need to have Karen on and talk about it, because again, like I said, the first time I connected and was really really drawn in was, I said, I saw you on Russ John's show. Like I said, you're a former pirate as well, and I love that community because again, it's so many interesting people who've come down that pipeline that I've connected with. So, Karen, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been up to lately? with the whole pandemic thing that everybody's had to deal with, and we've kind of, and everybody used the magic word pivot. It's
It's a good word. Come on. Okay.
It's a good
I
word.
didn't pivot. So I didn't pivot. So first of all, funnily enough, that I was a pirate and my son's high school mascot is a pirate. I just thought I'd point that out. That's actually kind of funny. I just literally made the connection just a second. Well, he just started high school. But what I've been doing actually, you read my LinkedIn profile and I was like, oh, I really need to update that. So I worked in advertising for a really, really long time and up until March. But for the last 5 years, I've had a side health and wellness business. So when my contract was up at NBC in March, it ended up happening at the same time as it was just weird how it all happened. So I decided to just do my health and wellness business full time. So I actually didn't pivot, if you will, because I didn't do anything differently than I was doing in the first place. I just actually lost something, if you will, for lack of a better way to put it. You know what I mean? I just decided to pursue something, full time. That's so that, and I dealing with, and my son my daughter was home until August from college, and dealing with now my son's all full remote high school, so that's
a whole
very sarcastic. Let me point that out like ahead of time. But yeah, it's an interesting ball game. So that's what I've been doing since March, is trying to help people get healthy and earn extra income or earn an income doing so. So that's really it.
And that's a really good thing, especially right now. I mean, everybody, you've had people who've struggled a lot during this time, and there's still people who are still struggling. They've weathered the majority of the storm, but then, how long can this stretch out, right? And that's part of the problem with a lot of people going, what, I need to find other revenue streams. I need to change a lot of things like what they do. So I gotta admit, it's been scary for a lot of folks, and even myself. Like you think about it, and you go, there was a big shift for us whenever we started doing the whole homeschool thing. Right. And I was going to be like, how are we going to do this? How is this actually going to work with 4 kids at home and then trying to manage things? And it's been really tough. So I get that. But here's the thing. I like the fact that you were already headed towards something when all this hit. So it's always cool whenever I hear people, like, even with me, even doing this live streaming thing. I started this right at the point where everything just sort of changed, and I got to say, it really kind of helped me take off with what I was doing. So, and look who is here in the house already saying hello.
Hey, boss.
Hey, boss. So that kind of, it's kind of funny. We kind of mirrored what we were doing as far as like wanting to pursue different things and getting into it. And we did it at the right times. For some reason, it just worked out. And I got to admit, I like the videos you've been posting lately on Facebook. You've been really, it's
my dance breaks you're talking about?
Yes. Well, I've been like, what? I got to get off my ass and do more myself, right? I got complacent. I'm not going to lie like everybody else. I got used to being in the house all the time. There was, it after a while, you're like, hey, I want to go out and start doing things again. You want to start getting out and doing things. And
you want to be human.
Exactly, right? And that's, for me, is like, I'm at that point where, I don't feel safe enough to go to a gym just yet.
Me neither.
But I do feel comfortable about going out and walking, right? Going out, taking a brief jog, doing a few other things to just get you out, And
I think it's important to get up and move. I think it's important, especially now with everything going on, all the insanity. I call it the insanity because I refuse to give it a name, even though it has a name. I don't want to acknowledge it, but it's there. But I'm with you. Actually, my son joined the gym. It's funny because I was at a gym, but I was doing fitness classes in a gym. And obviously I'm in New York, so they're not doing that. So my son goes with his friends and whatnot. That's awesome. But the people that I used to work out with, they actually are doing boot camp classes outside. So I'm literally at like a soccer field or like in this like park with grass, like no joke. And a bunch of us just do boot camps or they do circuits or something like that. Like I posted the video the other day of me rock climbing and even today with the ropes, that kind of a thing. So that is really awesome because you're getting that gym feel. I love like for me personally, I love a class setting. Like I love doing a class. So you're getting that, you have people cheering you on. And so it's like a gym, but you're not in a gym. You know what I mean? And it's really been, for my sanity, important. Like somebody, you know what I mean? Somebody's like, well, why do you keep doing this? I'm like, so my family stays alive. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
happy mom, happy wife, happy life. Nobody
Life.
wants to
There
leave for
you
real.
go, right? We know the
So,
same. How it goes.
but people like, I don't want to do this, and I'm like, you can go outside. I mean, we're not at the point where we can't walk outside. And even like I live in a townhouse, so even just walking around, yes, it does a little bit depending on what you get from the fridge. Just saying,
Exactly.
but yes, it is exercise. But you know what I mean? Just moving and getting and doing something, because we're all gonna, like, our mental health is for sure coming into play just when we were not allowed to really do anything.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm no mental health experts. Don't start getting all nuts on me. But I know for my daughter, I know for in my house, you can see like there was some depression. I don't want to say depression. We were sad. Like it was just like, we were sullen because we couldn't do anything. So if you get out and take a walk, even just put a jacket on, just moving your body, even for 10 minutes, it just completely changes your state. It doesn't have to do with anything else. It just changes the state that you're in. So
yes, and I got to the point where I just had to start doing something like that. I was waking up at like 4:30 in the morning because it was during the summer though here in Texas, and I didn't want to go walking. I'm sorry in 101-degree weather in the afternoon when I got off work, so I would get up early, go take a walk, go do something just to feel feel normal. And yes, even though I get out and I go to work, it's still, there's all these walls and there's all these other things that protocol and functions you have to follow. So it's not really like, hey, I can just hang out with you. We just cannot be like, hey, what's going on? Let's go have a drink or let's go whatever it is. It still hasn't got to that point where that feels normal again. And even now, for me, it's still a little bit scary because I've known people that have contracted COVID-19. My friend of my wife, it was her father-in-law, I think, her mother-in-law passed away from it. So it's still a scary thing to think about. And even if our president, if people like that and world leaders can get this stuff,
right? But at the same time, we have to live a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I feel like there has to be some sort of something. And I have no idea what the happy medium is. I found that my son plays travel baseball, and thank God they started that, because he would have completely lost his mind. And it's been fine. But you know what? There are things that can happen. My kids were at day camp. The JCC day camp. They were outdoors and everything like that. Yes, the counselors had to wear masks and everything, but for 8 weeks, and they didn't go on trips. Normally they went on trips, and what they did was they were literally just at the camp all day long. And they filled the days with different activities and whatnot, and they did it for 8 weeks, and they had 0 cases. So, you know what I mean? And my kids have been going there forever. But I was like, you don't understand how many kids' sanity you saved by opening up this day camp, because they had somewhere to go and they were able to be a child. And I think that's so important. And even for us adults, that's why I love Steve and Karen's positivity chat, because you're talking about different and exciting things in your, you know what I mean? We're all open and we're all having a conversation and willing to listen to each other, but also for the sake of we're adults and we can get together, even if it's virtually. You know what I mean? We're getting together and doing something, which is really what's important, especially with everything going on, in my opinion.
Yes, most definitely. I'm like you. Once I get off, I feel great again. I feel invigorated. I feel a lot of things because, again, I get to feel that interaction again, having normal conversation with adults. And I think to me, that's one of the best things about what I started doing and what everybody who jumps on a Zoom call or jumps on a conversation. I
Mhm.
think that's just a better way to kind of open communication so that you don't feel isolated.
Mhm.
It's tough for some
Right.
people because again, there's people that are at home that are empty nesters, and I know who like they're really going like, man, I don't know if I can do
Yeah.
10 more months at home with my
I was worried about my mom. And I
yeah.
did a video on it a long time ago. Like I was worried when this first hit. My mom is a widow. She lives alone in an apartment in Brooklyn. Like, what is she? And she used to go to a senior center. What is she going to do? You know what I mean? Thankfully, they meet on a benches, or they literally like meet and go sit on a bench outside. Socially distant, but they at least, or she'll talk. She went old school and talked on the phone. Like, who does that anymore? Actually, having she can't do Zoom. You know what I mean? That wasn't going to happen. We had a family Zoom. I actually had to go from Staten Island to Brooklyn to be with her to do it. I'm not even lying, but but at least she gets on the phone and talks to people. So there are ways to be. And I'm not never going to use the term normal because it's just driving me crazy. The new normal, all that kind of stuff is driving me nuts. But there are ways in this day and age, and you can be creative and whatnot. And I also think it's so important to get to know the people that you're friends with online, because you don't know, these people look nice, you know what I'm saying? But to have a conversation with them offline is also really, really cool too, because then you get to know the actual human behind the profile, which for me is a ton of fun.
It is. That's one of the best parts about it is when you have these off-screen conversations, when you actually, I actually did this yesterday, took a phone call. I haven't done that in a while. Just had a phone call, not even not even a Zoom chat, not even, sitting in front of a laptop or a screen. It was, I put on some earbuds and we had a conversation. We talked for an hour.
That awesome.
It is, right? And it feels cool once you're done. I didn't have the whole thing of how I got all the lights, camera, and action. I kind of enjoyed it.
Right.
And again, you get to know somebody and you hear about people's lives, and then on top of that, you get to learn things. I learned a few things from the gentleman I had a conversation with, and I found out that there's a lot of things that we both had in common about as far as what we were, how our journeys had started and what we were doing. So I really enjoyed that, and I think that's why I've started again saying, you know what, I got to start getting in the habit of interviewing people again. Not that I don't love doing the solo shows. I like those. But I think getting in the thing with a conversation with somebody's right, Nicole.
Well, because Nicole and I literally, and that's the beauty of the positivity chats too. To go back to that for a second, like we were in circles, and here we are. So thank you, by the way, for having me on. And Nicole and I only met because of the positivity chat and whatnot. And it turns out we have a lot of commonalities, her and I. And so we actually chatted the other day. We did Zoom, but it was just her and I talking as Nicole and Karen, which, by the way, Nicole's my daughter's name. So it was actually really even more funny. But, so it was awesome. So an offshoot of doing these Zooms with other people is that you then get your one-on-one, you find these commonalities, you're making new friends. And that's also cool because then, even if they're not in the same state, she's in Virginia, I have somewhere to go and visit. But, I'm going to go visit my brother in Texas. I'll go visit you too. But you know what I'm saying?
Well, here's the wonderful part, right?
It's people.
Once all this goes by the wayside, and it will, it's just the natural order of things. It will surpass. And here's the thing: you've made all these connections out,
right?
Just like you're saying, if I'm in Texas or somewhere, let me see who I'm connected with. Let me connect with this person. Hey, I'm actually coming to Dallas. Would you care to sit down and have a coffee and actually have a face-to-face? That's what for me is the next step, because I've made connections, really great connections and bonds with a lot of people. And for me, I want to go ahead and take it to the next point of just sitting down and having a handshake and talking with people. I think there's so much. Well, for me, I'm usually a kinetic person anyway. I like that. I like to be.
You and I are the same like that. We like to be people use the term outgoing. You know what I mean? We like to talk to people. We like to have conversations. I mean, I enjoy it. I mean, I mean, I was in advertising and I do health and well, and I talk to people about health and wellness. I talk for a living, like all the time.
Yes, right. And that's and this is the fun thing about it. When you finally meet somebody who you find a real unique level with, right?
Mhm.
You can actually build really great friendships,
Right.
all by just networking through a platform or something. And I've told so many people, if you're not networking now,
Right.
start networking. Send a message, send something to somebody. You never know. That person could be the, I don't know. It could be, again. You never know if you don't take the
Right.
opportunity. So this is why, for me, I love these chats. I love these communities of people that just come along and connect with, and it continues. For me, it adds more value to my life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Oh, 100%.
I get so much out of it because, like I said, I learn things not only about these other people, but I learn things about myself. Um, so having these conversations and then hearing something that somebody might have to say to me that I've never heard before, or it's
Mm-hmm.
something that just clicks in my head. I love those moments. For me, those are like, oh wow, those I live for those. So when I get
Yeah.
those kind of opportunities, and Steve's been one of those people who've actually put me in my place, right? That hasn't happened too often. So when I get those kind of moments
Mm-hmm.
where it's a piece of enlightenment, or it's something that I need to hear at the moment, man, there's nothing better for it. And again, I tell myself I wouldn't have had that opportunity
Right.
had I not
Exactly.
been doing
And
this.
that's the beauty of being open, but you were also open. So
Yeah,
that's an important part of the puzzle that I don't think a lot of people talk about, because you may not have received that well a year ago, even. You know what I'm saying? But because you had that connection, you had that relationship, he felt enough of your relationship that he could say it to you, and you felt enough of the relationship that you could receive it from him and take it for what it was, as opposed to being angry about it or insulted about it or something else like that. So that's really awesome, and that's why the engaging takes place and everything like that and whatnot. And I think it's just important, if you like something, if it makes you feel, say it in whatever
yes,
way you need to say it. And then, whatever happens. I mean, we're living in 2020, regardless of a pandemic or not, everything is online. Like, I look at my son, I literally drove my son and four of his friends someplace Friday night, and I swear to God, I'm like, I have no idea what this conversation is about. Like, zero idea. I actually did a Facebook. I'm like, you're old when you have no idea what five teenagers are talking about. Like, I don't think they have. I did. I swear to God, because I'm like, I don't even think they were having a conversation, because I was like, they don't have the ability to talk, because everything is online. Everything's chat, everything's Snapchat, everything is this, everything. I mean, obviously, I'm kidding. They're 14. Obviously, I have no idea what they're saying, but you know what I mean. Like, that's, in a way, I like old school like that, because I think it's fun to have a conversation. I think it's fun to talk. I think technology is phenomenal. It's awesome, and really should be used for good, not evil. But at the same time, there's nothing like a human connection. There's nothing like even this, what we're doing right now. There's nothing like this. There isn't.
yes.
And I don't think that enough people realize it. And I think,
Well, I saw this again, and this goes perfectly what you're talking about. There was a kind of like a documentary sort of thing on Netflix that I actually watched while I was taking my little break, and it's called The Social Dilemma.
I
And
keep hearing about this.
it is really good because it tells you about how you are the product for all these companies.
Yep.
What you are, and their job is to know who, what, where, when, and why about you. And
Yep.
you know, um, it's funny how they do things to try to get you to
Yep.
how they get those algorithms to become so intelligent of try to get you to click on the things that you want to click. So if it's something like, let's just say that Nicole had commented on somebody
Mm-hmm.
else's thing, right? It's going to tell you right away, hey,
It shows up.
Nicole P. Jones commented on this, and you go, oh, wonder what she said. Let me check it out. And they try to get you to click it, and that's how they
Like a
draw
black
you
hole.
in. Yes, right. So for me, one of the coolest things that I did while I was away after I saw that documentary, I took my phone and I didn't respond to tons of shit for a week.
Good for you.
Tons. I mean, literally, people would be sending me messages. People would, "Are you okay?" I would get text messages. If it was somebody that I knew that had my personal number and I gave them that number to me and they texted me, I would just text them back. I wouldn't get on social media. I would just text them back. "Yes, I'm fine. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just doing this right here." And, that's part of what I was doing. Oh, I just saw this. I'm sorry.
That's awesome. I've been both, so that's hilarious. I've been both a blonde and a brunette.
Oh, hope you have a good. Great. Thank you, Lori. Always good to have a laugh. I just saw that. So, but to get into that, like I was saying, it felt refreshing for a little bit just to step away and go, okay.
Yeah. That's why I do the dance breaks. That's the whole reason why it started. It started as a challenge. So we do power hours every day with my health and wellness company. Power hours is basically button chair doing income producing activities. And in the power hour, late August, there was a challenge of let's do something every day for the month of September. Like I am statements or something. And I was like, well, what can I do? And I was like, Barney Stinson. If you don't know who Barney Stinson is, Google it. How I Met Your Mother. Just going to tell you the show. And I was like, challenge accepted. And anyway, I was like, well, what could be fun and ridiculous? Because the climate nowadays is clearly, awesome. She said very sarcastically. And so I was like, well, what can I do that's me, but like would go well with the climate? And I was like, oh, dance breaks, because I'm unabashed in my love of 70s disco. I'm completely unabashed in it. So I was like, okay, that's what I'll do. I'm like, people just need to look at something ridiculous and stupid on social media. And I use Facebook for the most part and whatnot. So that's how the dance break started in the first place. Was just, and it's literally, by the way, if you're not friends with me on Facebook, it's literally me, and I have no joke, like a traffic light. Okay, it's like ridiculous, and it's just literally me, playing a song on Alexa and just me dancing. And sometimes my husband gets involved and like does an umbrella with like It's Raining Men and stuff like that. Sometimes my daughter was in for the weekend; she got involved. Sometimes I have guest appearances by the family, but it's literally just me dancing to a song. Like today, I played like a fun guitar because I played Jump because Eddie Van Halen died and whatnot. So that's how it started. And I was supposed to end at the end of September. And I'm not saying this like, oh my God, she's so awesome that she's doing this. I'm saying this because people need, to your point about social media, you got off it because you needed the break.
Right.
But, I was like, well, if people can't get off it, maybe this is a good way to sort of just have them change their state, if you will. And then I was going to stop it at the end of September, because it was only supposed to be, and my husband's like, no, you're not. And my mother's like, no, you're not, because my mother actually is on Facebook, believe it or not. And she actually is and does stuff on Facebook. It's very exciting. So I was like, well, I have to keep this going. So now I've gotten people involved, and I asked for, requests and stuff like that. But that's kind of why I did it, to your point of, you do see, like, I'm going roller skating. All of a sudden you see roller skates and stuff like that. But that's the whole thing, right? I mean, it's the advertising to try and get you. But that's the world we live in nowadays. Yes. So what are you going to do about it? And like, there's not really much we can do about it. It's just sometimes you go down the rabbit hole, sometimes you don't.
And that's the whole thing about what I say. I love the fact that the vibe on my show is just what it is. So if it's music one day, if it's a real deep conversation, if we're talking about neuroplasticity, if we're talking about, positive toxicity, and if we're talking about mental health one day, if we're talking, whatever it comes the subject is, it's free and open. And I think that's kind of the whole premise is for me is to imagine me sitting down across from a good friend and having a conversation. I mean, I wouldn't sit here and want to talk about, hey, can I give you 10 tips that will help you get more followers on LinkedIn? That's not me. I'm sorry. I'm just not. And there's people that do that. There's people that are really good at that, and there is nothing wrong with that. I point those people in the right way, but I'm just not me. That's not what I'm like you. I got to have the music. I want to be the little bit laid back.
Right.
Because I can't take this too seriously. I can't take, I can't sit here and take everything too seriously, because if you keep doing that, man, it's going to bog you down to a point where you just go, that's why I had to step away, because it became too much that chore, and I had lost the zeal for the fun of it, which is what was really driving me. So I want to say about after episode 75 or 80, somewhere around there, there was this whole buildup. I was getting close to 100 episodes. It was a goal that I had set. At that point, I just became too hyper focused on that, and then just trying to really work inside of a box that I wasn't used to being in. And I said, you know what, this isn't me. This is not. I gotta go. And I had to go refresh, redo this, everything. And then when I sat back down in the chair for the first time, it was like, there it is. I've been missing you, my friend. Let's go. And I've been doing that ever since. So I tell people that come on here, hey, let's just talk. I'm not here to talk about building your platform. I'm not here to do that. I'll be able to create those sort of things on the side if I want to. But to me, I love what you were doing as well, right? I love people who do that, who actually can take their part of what they love and integrate it to what they do. So even like Brian Shulman does this on his shows. He likes to get people to dance, right? I can tell the people that actually go on there and they feel weird doing that.
I mean, and it's not like he's not. First of all, let's discuss Brian Shulman is like the best person ever, but that's besides the point. And because he's a mensch. He really is. He truly is a mensch. He's just such he's a guy who he is online and in person. He's just a human, awesome human. But that being said, but the fact of the matter is he actually says what he's going to do. So, what's good Wednesday? Let's get our social distance thing on. It's not like he doesn't say what he's going to do.
Right. So if you get on there,
so if you get on there, you got to know that's what's going to happen.
It's not like saying this is the first time of telling somebody, hey, I've invited somebody who's not familiar with me on my show. And hey, by the way, we do this thing at the end of the show where we just all get up and dance. And we're like, what? Sign up for this? Right. So, but again, you can have the most strict sort. Because again, he's got a lot of good stuff when he's talking about how to grow his your LinkedIn platform, all this stuff. Sure. He does talking seminars, he does webinars, he does all these other things, but he also knows what it is to be laid back, relaxed, and not have to be too seriously. And I think that's why he's endearing to a lot of folks. That's why he is to me. So I take it for what it is, and I hope that I'd love to surround myself with those type of people. Right. So this is why I will connect with Brian or Russ or Steve, Karen, you, all these people who know that, yes, we are adults. Yes, we have the business side of what we do. But to me, it's more important about wanting to know the laid back person once you take the time off and it's time to relax. And the real person. That's what I enjoy doing. And it's who I love connecting with, because again, that's who I want to build that relationship with. And I hopefully more and more people can understand that when you reach out to them and say, hey, look, when you come on my show, just know that it's not super strict. I know you've probably been on this. I've had people tell me I've been on tons of other shows. What is your show like? And I just want you to be you.
Right.
I mean, if
you don't even send questions. There was no like, this is what's going to be. There was no anything. And I never even thought to ask you either. And I was like, well, let's just, because I kind of knew you were just like, it was like, let's just see what comes up. I mean, I watched, Steve and Lila, you had Steve as a guest host with Lila a few weeks ago and whatnot. So I kind of knew it was just like, we're just going to chat about whatever comes up. And I think, honestly, what you're doing is a huge service, because the beauty of it is it can kind of go anywhere.
It can. And it
can. You know what I mean? And so they scare people, but clearly not me. But I think it's fun because you don't know what's going to happen. It's unscripted, and it's just all about people being people. I know it's going to take a long, but
and that's the best. Sometimes those are the best conversations, because that's when you learn so much about
Mm-hmm.
that one person. I mean, I've learned different things from people where I've actually watched other people's
Yeah.
shows who've had the same guest on as I do, and it's pretty straight laced, and you can tell that it's something that they've planned out together. They put
Mm-hmm.
as whatever, and then when I get on here and we start talking, and I mean, you learn different things about different folks, and I think that's the best part of what these conversations bring. I mean, I learned that, and this is an example because you mentioned Mila. I was watching her and Kenyatta do her interview with Kenyatta does these wonderful
Yeah,
interviews.
I watched that too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, and she mentioned that she collects uh, uh, lingerie. It is a
I
particular
don't
kind of.
remember the name, and I don't remember the name
Uh,
either. But I know. But I remember hearing that, and I was like, "Shut up, really?" Like, I swear to God, like that was my response. I was like, I would have never ever guessed that. So I don't remember the name of the lingerie either, but I watched that with you, and I was like, well, that's fun. And you know what? But it was the question
it,
that Kenyatta, I think, asked, and that
yes,
was the cool thing. So even if you the scripted or not, it doesn't really matter. Nobody's bashing anything, but I think it's fun. You know, somebody said something to post like three fun things about you. You know what I mean? It's important that I think people. I'm all about you. This is why I think you and I are drawn to each other, because we're all about being real. We're all about this is what it is. That's why even sometimes I'll say like I'm upset about something or whatever, because life isn't all rainbows and peaches as much as I try to be motivational and positive. But I think it's important to sometimes not spew everything either at the same time. So when Lila said something like that, it was just like, and it's not something, I think we also have this not preconceived notions of people, but you think somebody, right?
yes.
And then something like that comes out and you're just like,
Ah,
that's and I thought it was just really awesome. You know what I mean? And so that's why things like this are fun. And that's why, being real is awesome, but also holding back a little bit is also I gotta see, you guys, I gotta keep this. You gotta send me from my Friday funnies. But see, that's the stuff I love. Like he just posted, I did the hokey pokey and I turned myself around. I live for stuff like that. Like the cornier, the more ridiculous, the better. But like it's also important, like I was saying, like to kind of hold back a little bit, as so you don't like spew everything about yourself. You
yeah,
know what I mean? And I also think it's important to listen to other people and also be educated, and in a way of like going back to the positivity chats for a second, being real. We're all real in there, but like Dimitri, I like
yes.
every time he speaks, I literally learn something.
I mean,
And I don't mean about myself. I mean, like, I didn't know something. I know I'm not smarter than a ninth grader. My son's in ninth. I know this, but
yes,
like he, and the way he tells it, I was just like, well, that's so awesome. And it makes me want to know more about that. So that's why it's
yes.
fun if you're open and engaging and just having conversations with people. You get to learn things that you may not have known about.
Mm-hmm. And again, um, so just to mention, she's talking about Dimitri Ortiz, guys. So if you're not connected with him,
Yes.
check him out on LinkedIn. Awesome
It's
dude.
awesome.
Um, and but again, yes, I this is why I love to learn and listen from all these conversations every single time that we have them. And I've learned like people who say I can't. I'm trying to remember what conversation, but somebody said that they wanted to learn how to do drifting, like driving a car and drifting, it was Wendy Gahulia. She was on with Anna Sabino, and they were talking, interviewing, and we wanted to know about one thing about each other that nobody knows. She says, "Well, I want to learn how to. I want to learn how to drive drifting." And I said, "Drifting? That is like really way out of your personality because she's real sweet, she's humble, she's all these other things. You wouldn't think to see her behind a car doing this high speed
Right.
turning and everything else. So that was kind of cool to learn. Again, this is where um, when you come on my show, that's what I really try to excel at bringing out at people. Is just I want to, again, like I tell everybody, I want to know about the guy or the girl who's off the clock after 5 o'clock. That's the
She
one.
roller skates. She's going roller
Roller
skating on Friday night. That's what I am doing. Okay. You want to know about the girl who's off the clock? So my day is spent, working on my health and wellness business in between driving my son to the gym. My son, God forbid, should make like a time of anything. So it's like, oh, can you come now and get me? Like boys are way different than girls. My daughter would have had a time and everything. And that's what my days are spent. My days are spent, or like I worked out this morning. So I did my boot camp class this morning at 9:00 this morning. I do my health and wellness business. I do trainings I do power hours. I'm part of Jake Jordan's accountability group that Lila got me into, which is fun.
Oh,
And so that's what I do on the side. And I'm a mom, so and I'm a wife, and sometimes I cook, sometimes I don't. My husband cooks way better than me. And then I'm a baseball mom. So like the Saturday, so Friday night I'm going. This is my life. I go roller skating one night. And the next day at 5 p.m. and somewhere in New Jersey, I'll be watching my son play doubleheader. Like and that like that's kind of that's and I do dance breaks on Facebook for just for shits and giggles, and I love to curse. Like the F-bomb is my favorite word ever. It really is. And 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 I don't care. Like people like, oh, I'm sorry, I cursed in front of kids. You know what? They're gonna learn it anyway. Let's be honest. They live in
right.
I'm from Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn. So this is the other thing. If you can't tell where I'm from by my lovely accent, I grew up in Brooklyn and I moved to Staten Island 22 years ago when I got married. So people like, you're from Staten Island, and I get very insulted. I'm like, no, I'm from Brooklyn. I live in Staten Island. Like, you need to know this about me. And otherwise, like, I mean, not that I hold anything back, but like I don't have a love of lingerie like Lila does or anything like that. Like I'm kind of like an open book in a way. You know what I mean? Like I like ridiculous, corny. I like to have fun. Like I like to have fun. And I did a post earlier about like age and like just because my mom asked me. I didn't say who asked me, but like my mom was like the other day, like she's like, are the exercises you're doing age appropriate? My mother's 79, so you got to give her something. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, who said? So like that's like I told Linda Tilson this once. I'm like, the name of my book is going to be Who Said, because I'm always like, who said? Like, who made up the rules of these things? Like somebody like 3 million years ago made up these rules, and somehow or another we're still going with them. Yes. Nobody questioned them. We're just kind of going with them. And so I'm that person who was like, well, who said? I'm that person who's going to buck the trend. I'm that person who used her mouth for evil when she was younger, not good and whatever. I still have the big mouth. That's who Karen is kind of out. And I'm kind of like that on social media too. I'm just not as out there on social media because I know like sometimes I know I'm going to call Penny Rogers. I know when to hold them and I know when to fold them. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. Like, I'm an adult, but like, I like my father was the same way. My father used to like be a monk. Like, this is how I grew up. My father would like show up in like monkey suits. Like, my father used to trick or treat with like Rasta. I'm not even lying to you, Rasta braids and stuff like this. Like when my kids were little and stuff like that. And I absolutely have inherited the corniness. And so I live for stuff like that. And I thankfully, so now I'm surrounded. Like somebody's actually coming with me roller skating. I went roller skating by myself last year. By myself on my 51st birthday. I was like, you know what? They're playing 70s disco. I want to go. I'm going to do what I want on my birthday. And I did.
Yes. And
this year I want to do axe throwing.
Here's the most wonderful part about all this, right? No apologies. I don't like you. I'm the same sort of deal with as far as even people. Oh, can I say this word on your show? Yes, please do. It was somebody 400 years ago who thought of these rules and said, what I'm saying is vulgar.
Right.
Man, I wrote a blog post about this a long time ago about this. And I said, look, I'm not going to apologize for what I say, how I say it, and what I do. The intention is never to offend, but again, I'm just going to be who I am. Why try to hide it? No, I love the fact that you're out there. You say what you're going to say. You say, and again, I've had people again say, "Hey, should I dial it back a little bit when they come on?" I said, "Hell no, be you." Again, like I said, just because I have a camera on you and we're having a conversation, does not mean I want you to be somebody else. Right. Be who you're going to be. And I said, if you're from New York and that's the way you are, albeit, man, even the better. I love that. And I don't, again, like I said, I don't apologize for a lot of things, and I try to just be what I am in front of here, or if
Mm-hmm.
somebody were to meet me off camera, I'm just the same sort of person, and I would hope that that comes across, and I love the
Oh,
fact
100%. We'll
that you
see
do
it here.
that you do that as well, and I love that because again, when people when people try to be something that they're not,
Yep.
it's always it might not be immediate, but some point down the line, you can always tell. You'll always
Yeah.
find
They're
out.
miserable. You'll
Yeah,
find out they're miserable and they're shrinking into somebody. I don't remember. I'll be honest with you. I don't remember who posted about this, but somebody posted about shrinking into places that you don't fit, or something to that effect, even like in a job situation, like even in a corporate job situation. And I was like, wow, that really like made me think, because years ago I did, in a way, because so you know what I mean. Back 10, 15 years ago, I didn't have the mindset to be like, well, this doesn't fit who I want to be with.
yeah,
So I shrunk myself to kind of, not to fit in per se, but I wasn't as gregarious as I would normally be. And somebody made this post very recently on LinkedIn, and I was like, wow, that is a really awesome, brilliant post. And I think it's so timely because, and I tell my kids this all the time, you have to be who you are, and the right people are going to like you and be your friends. And it's a lifelong lesson to learn and everything like that, but you can't fit a round hole, you can't fit a square peg into a round hole. And it's so important in jobs and in life to be, I mean, it's, you know what I mean, it's like you have to just be who you are and never shrink down, but understand the situation and what the situation calls for. So you don't
yeah,
necessarily have to shrink down per se, but if I'm screaming at my kid on the baseball field, if he struck out or something, that may not be the best idea. You know what I mean? That may be off-putting to him and other people. You know what I mean? So it's just, you have to kind of know, you have to read the room. Like I tell my kids,
yes,
I tell my son this all the time, like read the room. You have to read the room. So it's not necessarily shrinking, but it's understanding when you can, how much you can, amp it up or tone it down.
yes, and I love that. That's always a part of it. So I want to give a quick shout out to somebody that you mentioned, Mr. Jake L. Jordan. Um, I know you're in his accountability group, but I watch him every morning. He does a wonderful show.
Hmm.
Him and his partner John Hill, and um, I've actually met Jake in person, so he's a real cool dude. And just a quick shout out to him. So if you're not connected, please do go check him out. And he's like a machine, man. He knows his shit, man, and I
He
really
does.
appreciate it.
And we're talking about Lila, and just to give her a shout
Yes.
out. We mentioned Lila Smith a few times. Lila and I actually met at LinkedIn Local here in New York. So
Oh
so
yeah.
they used to, so back in the day when you can actually see people in person and go to like places full capacity.
All right.
They were LinkedIn Locals, and Lila and I met, and so we're actually friends. We talk to each other and whatnot, and she actually is the one who asked me to join the accountability group. Lila's really amazing at reading people and connecting people to the right people. So absolutely connect with her also, and she knows like everybody, and she remembers what everybody does. So if you need something, she'll know somebody. Just
Yes.
want to like,
Yes.
so she knows
See,
everyone.
she's one of those. She's one of those. She's one of those super connectors that you meet.
Yes.
She's really good at that. If you get lucky, you find maybe one or two of those
Hmm.
in your tribe, and you get connected with that person, and you tend to gravitate toward them because they're really good at that. And whew, wow, it's been gone by so fast, Karen. We've almost been on for an hour. So again, that's why I said these chats can go really fast when we start.
Really
Just
getting into it. I know. It's just like, and there you go. And by the way, it's over.
yeah, it's like, hey guys, it's been going on so far. So you know, last season I did this, and I kind of learned a few really good things. Not going to do that this season, though.
Oh, I want the question. I don't know how to answer it, but I want the question.
Okay, so here's
I don't
the question.
remember the question, but you do.
Here's-
I remember you asked this at the positivity chat, and I was like, "Oh, this is
Yes.
good." So if you
Okay.
don't mind, I think it's really good for people to hear it because I think
Okay,
it's.
so
Here's the thing: people stop dreaming, and people
Right.
stop thinking about things. So I think it's a really important question
So
to ask.
this is the question I asked everybody at the end of the show because I always got a different answer. And sometimes they were very simple, sometimes they were very elegant, and sometimes they were very elaborate. So the question is, so when the book is said and done, I'm Karen Cooper. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind, and what is the one thing you want to be remembered for?
See, I told you I didn't have an answer, but you know what? I actually have been kind of thinking about this. The one thing I want to be remembered for, and Lila actually pointed this out. Like my name is Karen, and it's spelled Caren, and well, Kara's in her name. But like that, I gave a shit. I mean, honestly, and that's a legacy that from my parents. My parents always, they live in a. When my father was alive, they always buying the newspaper for somebody. Like when they were here, people were calling them, "Are you getting me the newspaper this weekend? You're at Karen." And what do you mean you're at Karen's house? I'm not even lying to you. It was like hilarious. And so my parents were always giving of themselves, almost to a fault in a way. And so I want people to remember me that I actually gave a shit, quite frankly, to be blunt about it. So that's one of the things I want to remember for. And the legacy I want to leave is that is two things, because and I tell my kids this all the time, and I know passion gets thrown around and whatever and whatnot, but like I decided to say yes to my health only 5 years ago, and it became a passion of mine, something I decided that I wanted to pursue, and it wasn't something that was in my wheelhouse. So my point of saying that is the legacy I want to leave, especially to my kids, is that it doesn't have to be the way people say it has to be.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, my daughter's in college and whatever. And yes, she's living off campus, even though it's virtual and everything like that. So there you go. I'm already doing things. So the legacy I want to leave is who said? I mean, that's like the thing. Who said? Buck the trend, if you will. It doesn't have to be the straight and narrow, and you can do something for 10, 15 years and love it. And then when you don't like it anymore, if you want to change and do something else, or if you find something else that you're passionate about or that you enjoy more than what you were doing, it's okay to say, you know what? Nope, I'm going to leave that and do this, or do them both, whatever it may be. So that's kind of the legacy I want people to understand, that it's okay to do something different.
It's
okay
awesome.
to be different and do something different.
That really is great, and that's a really good answer because again, I've taught it to so many people is that you can go and reinvent yourself as many times to find your path to being happy. Again, like you said, who said you have to go this way? Who said you have to? Who said that? You know what?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. Only
Yeah.
you. Only you can do that. That's the best part about this. So that's a great answer. See,
Thank you.
maybe you know what? You made up my mind. I'm going to stick with that question to ask for every single guest.
I wouldn't tell you to do it, but I really think, honestly, we were having this conversation today too on my power hour. Like, people forget how to dream. Like, people forget, like, what is it that they really like? Even what's a small goal that you have? Like, that's what somebody said today, like to ask a person. I was like, oh my God, like, 7 years ago, somebody would have asked me that. I wouldn't have had an answer. So even if you just say to somebody, even you say, what's a small goal that you have to do every day? A lot of people are like, I don't know.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? People just, this is what you're supposed to do, and people go do it. So why not ask that question? Because then people look, and listen, it's messy and it's awful and it's horrible to look inward. I'm not going to lie about it, but it's also rewarding as hell. And you find out so much about yourself, and you get these aha moments, and it's really awesome. So I really think that question really helps people to think about what it is they want out of themselves.
Because again, you got to have a destination. And I mean that. I tell everybody like this. I drive for a living. So I tell everybody, and I kind of equate it in terms that I can, hopefully they'll understand. I say, would you ever just hop in your car and not know where you're going? I mean, just turn on the car, take reverse, and just drive. I mean, what is the point, So the whole thing is, most of the time when you get in your vehicle, it is, hey, I know where I'm going to go.
Right.
I have a kind of preset destination. And guess what? Along the way, if you see
I don't know if you froze or if I froze. I'm going to stay on.
Somewhere you see Starbucks somewhere. Okay.
There we
It's funny. That's okay. I had got 2 internet lines in here, so I got it kind of prepared myself this season. So when that happens, what you just saw, my internet connection drops from one stream. Guess what? Took me a few seconds to click over to one. Boom, 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 back on.
Technology. Gotta love technology, but you were prepared. You were prepared.
But again, to the point, that was what I just want to say that again, like you said, people forget to dream.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that small goal, that little destination every day that you want to head to.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I said, it's along the way. You want to stop and get some coffee. That's a little part of the journey. Go ahead. That's what we do. And but again, you still have that preset destination in your mind that, hey, this is what I got to do today.
Right. Exactly.
Sometimes we don't always get there, but you know what? We get up tomorrow morning. We get another 86,400 seconds to try to do it all over again and make the best of it. And I tell myself that every single morning. If I wasn't satisfied with the day before, guess what? Can't go back unless I'm Michael J. Fox and I have a time machine. I can't go back and change yesterday.
Unless you have a DeLorean, you can't do it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I
need Christopher Lloyd too. Just saying.
I don't have those things, but if I did, I probably could. But if I don't, guess what? There's only one way I can go forward, and that's what I tell everybody to go do. So thank you, Karen, so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
That's awesome.
And I'm finally glad we got this done, and hopefully next time that we do this, it won't be so long in between there. So I always like to bring people back.
Awesome. So, I love that.
All right, everybody. Let me just say before we get out of here, tomorrow got a guest hosting tomorrow evening. So I won't actually be in the stream, but I will be in the background technically directing. I kind of love those shows a little bit because I get to geek out. And then on top of that, you guys get a good conversation to watch. So Megan Redmond will be back tomorrow with her guest, Lauren Greif. She owns a company called Portfolio Rocket, which is like a different way of approaching the whole thing of the HR system and how it operates. So she kind of started that on her one day, and I'm looking forward to that conversation because it's really good to have new people on. So guys, thank you so much for joining this evening. Karen, thank you so much for being a part of this. Just sit tight for a second. Everybody else, I will be back tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern. You guys have a good evening. Stay safe. Stay blessed. I'll see you tomorrow night. Good night, everybody.